Hi. The first case I'd like to go through with you is for a lady called Mary. Mary was 60 years of age. She was separated from her husband, and we call him John. John had left the jurisdiction. He was living over in the UK, but the problem is nobody knew exactly where he was and he wasn't contactable. So Mary was left in a house worth 200,000 with a loan of 140,000 outstanding on it. Now, because of the marital breakdown and all the other problems and that it causes, as opposed to just financial problems, it took Mary a long time, especially living on her own, to get back on her feet, get a job, and to be able to start contributing towards the mortgage. But in that intervening time, arrears of about €80,000 had built up on the mortgage itself. So within that 140,000 loan, 80,000 was arrears. And Mary was well down the litigation path to having her house repossessed. Mary was able to make some sort of payment, but the problem being she wasn't able to restructure her debt, because to restructure her debt she would have needed John to sign off on it. And because he wasn't around and nobody could contact him, she was sort of stuck in a state of limbo. Now Mary was able to go to a PIP, and the PIP was able to put this proposal forward to the courts, which was approved by the courts and by the lender. So what the PIP proposed in regards to her mortgage debt was, and it was only mortgage debt that she had thankfully, was that they would extend the term out to 20 years, which would bring her to age 80. Now that would not have fit under the normal bank's credit criteria, but it was able to be done within a PIA. They were also able to reduce the rate on the mortgage from 4.5% down to 3%. And they also capped the arrears on the loan. So essentially what that means is you have schedule balance and arrears balance. They were able to put the arrears balance onto the schedule balance. So she still owed 140,000, but when you went to the credit bureau, you would have seen that Mary's loan was no longer in arrears. Mary was able to do this because of one of the main reasons being is that her daughter, who was in her mid-20s, was also living in the house, and she was contributing towards the household. Her daughter had a child, so it was in the daughter's interest to remain in the family home and to help Mary make those payments of €776, which would have been a lot cheaper than trying to rent a same sort of house in the same area. And because Mary had equity in her family home, she was not eligible for mortgage to rent. So this provided a really, really good way for, number one, for the bank themselves to get their loan cleared over the 20 years, but it also left Mary in her family home with a much more affordable mortgage rate. Her arrears are now gone, and the threat of repossession has now faded, assuming she keeps making the payments into the future.